Is the Rose Bowl in a very high fire hazard severity zone? Obviously it is. If you've clicked on this video, you saw the title, that's the name of the video, right? My name is Chris. I'm here with Zone Zero, California. And we're traveling around to parts of Los Angeles and Ventura County and eventually all parts of California, taking you, the viewer, down to the front line to show you just where these very high fire hazard severity zones begin. And so I am here in front of the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, and basically everything west of here, west of Rosemont Ave from the 134 is in a very high fire hazard severity zone. What does that mean? Well, if you live in this area, the Zone Zero regulations apply to you. What is Zone Zero? Zone Zero is the 0 to 5 feet around any structure, home, or property that the CAL FIRE and other scientists have identified as the most important part for preventing fires, for hardening your home. So let me explain. Traditionally, there were two zones, Zone 1 and Zone 2. Zone 1 was from 0 to 30 feet, and the saying was lean, clean, and green. As the name implies, you needed to keep it clean of any debris or combustible material, keep your grass watered, keep it green, prevent that area from essentially being more prone to catch fire. Now, here's what happened. There were a bunch of devastating fires over the past 10 or 15 years here in California, and scientists wanted to study what caused such widespread damage, and what they found was it wasn't walls of fire or even radiant heat that caused these fires to spread and do so much damage. It's what they call ember storms. As you can imagine, when things burn, they create embers, and these embers get, they get caught up in the wind, and then they travel and land on other properties, sometimes miles away. And that's what causes these fires to spread. And you can imagine, combined with those high winds, once those embers land and catch fire, that fuel from the high winds causes those fires to grow and spread rapidly. So they identified and labeled Zone Zero as the 0 to 5 feet. And this is where people need to be most concerned when it comes to protecting their homes, their properties, and putting in a fire hardening system. And it is a system because it's a combination of different things. Now, when it comes to these very high fire hazard severity zones in particular, two major rules came from that, okay? So the first is for new buildings. Anything new being built needs to be compliant with Zone Zero, and basically that involves Class A non-combustible building materials, as well as the type of landscaping in that first 5-foot radius, okay? Now, here's the bigger point of impact here. For the millions, and I'm talking millions of existing homes, which could be you, the viewer, who I'm making these videos for, of course, you have approximately 2 to 3 years to become compliant if your insurance company hasn't already itself come in as a de facto enforcement mechanism for these Zone Zero regulations and forced you to make these changes already. So it's March 1st. We are expecting the state to finalize their drafts of these regulations and publish them. And what we're expecting or anticipating is that there's going to be some general top-down guidelines from the state. And then at the county and city levels, you might have more specific, focused, and tailored policies. Because why? Los Angeles, San Diego, Berkeley, dense urban populations don't have 100 feet of defensible space, right? They may have 10 feet of space before they're touching their neighbor's house, and they're sharing a fence along the middle of the property 5 feet away from both structures. And I think the bigger point of protest or concern among the people who voiced their concerns during this regulatory process is that the landscaping issue, and more specifically the trees. Removing the trees reduces shade. Shade helps cool things off significantly. One study I saw estimated that it can cool temperatures up to 50 degrees. And so in a densely urban area that's already prone to heat waves, reducing the amount of shade cover not just reduces quality of life, but, you know, it's going to increase costs. And never mind the cost of removing the tree itself, right? So that's been some of the biggest points of contention. That's the word I was looking for. And so we'll see what happens. We'll see what LA, San Diego, and all the various other counties that are a little bit more urban developed, or a lot more urban developed than the rural counties. We'll see what they decide and how they choose to approach this. But you as the homeowner or the property manager, what do you need to be aware of? All right, so let's start with landscaping. 0 to 5 feet, you may need to swap out grass for gravel. I know it sucks. Let's see what the regulations kind of impose before we make any drastic changes. I'm really out here to raise awareness about the problem now, so you're prepared and not scared, and at least get you thinking about the kinds of things you may have to undertake as a homeowner or property manager. Okay, second, obviously old wood fences and gates are out, specifically redwood and cedar, okay? So now there are some woods that have been approved, mainly hardwoods. These were approved by CAL FIRE. For example, specifically, Kayu Batu is a hardwood used in decking, used in fences and gates. That is approved by CAL FIRE for use. So you don't have to get rid of wood completely, just need to be aware of what's approved and what's not. So we talked about landscaping, we've got fences and gates. What's next? Decks and patios. Again, your decking may be already composed of a hardwood like ipe or tigerwood, various other hardwoods, right? But if it's not, and it's redwood, most likely you're going to need to change out those building materials for Class A non-combustible things like your batu or your other hardwoods. What else? Trex or TimberTech. These are composite materials that are also used for decking. That's something to consider. And then when it comes to your railings, like for instance, I was in Hollywood. One of the apartment buildings had wooden railings made of redwood. Holy cow, memory card ran out of space. I've got barely 3 minutes left on this one. I'll wrap it up. Okay, decking needs to be swapped out for composites or approved hardwoods. Your siding, if you're siding, if your home is from a certain period, like those craftsmen, right, you might have wood siding. That's something that you're going to need to change out as well. And of course your roof, okay? So most roofing material, I'm willing to bet, is already non-combustible, but think about the example of the tree next to the home where the dry leaves collect and don't ever get removed from the roof, and then the ember storm comes and lands on that, combined with your high wind. That's a recipe for disaster. You may not be able to extinguish that fire or get to it in time before it becomes too intense and nevertheless permeates your roof or your other barriers. So once again, guys, my name's Chris. Okay, I got two things for you. I've got a school community, absolutely free to join. I'm compiling resources there. The link's in the description. I've got links to news coverage, grants, other state agencies, all of the players sort of involved with this Zone Zero issue. I've also got a Reddit community I started. And of course, if you need to be put in touch with a local contractor in your area, go to zonezerocalifornia.com, give us a call or fill out the form on our website, and we'll put you in touch with licensed contractors near you. Okay, guys, thanks again. My name's Chris. What we're gonna do now is drive around Pasadena and go along the edge of this very high fire hazard severity zone to give you guys a more like on the ground view of where it kind of begins and ends. So if you live in Pasadena and these areas do look familiar to you, you'll know that you're affected. All right, guys, thanks. Let's go take a drive. Okay, everyone, it's Chris. All right, we're back in the truck here. So before we get going, let me go ahead and map out our route now so we have a better idea of where we're going here in Pasadena. Of course, if you saw our previous videos, we started in South Pasadena, but now we are in Pasadena proper at the Rose Bowl. Let me just kind of show you what I'm seeing here with this map. All right, let me get it out of the glare there. So can you guys see? Maybe that's a better angle. So we're here at the Rose Bowl. Okay, so you can see all this area in red. So basically, now, was I lying when I said the Rose Bowl was in a very high fire hazard severity zone? Well, part of it is. It's on the edge. Close enough, right? So we're gonna go north here along this street. This is West Drive. And we're gonna cut slightly west or east so we can continue north. And then we're gonna go to La Cañada next to make our next video. So, you know, this is a video, one in a series of many videos where we're driving around and showing people and taking viewers to these very high fire hazard severity zones, showing where these lines of demarcation are. Oh gosh, there's a big group of runners in front of me. It appears to be some kind of memorial run. They've got a little bit of a police escort. So we're here now on West Drive. So everything over my shoulder to the left, through my window, etc. This is all in the zone. Okay, we are west of the Rose Bowl, which was over there. As you can see, there's a group here. So I want to be respectful. They've got a police escort. We're cruising anyways. There's not a lot of homes or structures here. Okay, for some reason the camera shut off. But okay, I was able to pass them. So there's your Rose Bowl. We are west of the Rose Bowl here on West Drive. And everything from here west is in a very high fire hazard severity zone. So we're headed north here. We're gonna just kind of explore and see what's around here. Once we get to La Cañada, we'll film a separate video there. But I mean, you know, this looks like a golf course over here next to the Rose Bowl. Okay, and then obviously you've got hills. Now there are homes on top of this hill, and like I said, anytime you see the fire hazard severity zone, you'll notice that it overlaps with the topography where there are a lot of hills. So if you live on a higher elevation, chances are you're in a fire hazard severity zone. I mean, it just kind of holds true for everything, pretty much from the Hollywood Hills to Beverly Hills, Los Feliz. You know, we were in Lincoln Heights, we were in Elysian Heights. So these are all areas that are you know, inside of these are all areas that inside of the very high fire hazard severity zones that are at higher elevations. So I mean, it's a beautiful day here in Southern California. Again, there's really nothing much for me to show you right now, but the Rose Bowl, right? So I mean, that's a major structure. Dodger Stadium. I couldn't do a video at Dodger Stadium today because they were having some kind of event as well, so access to the Dodger Stadium was closed off. But I was going to make a video there pointing out that Dodger Stadium is quite, in fact, in the middle of a very high fire hazard severity zone. So the next time a major fire rips through, and it's a matter of if, not when, right? I'm sorry, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We know it's going to happen again. And so that's why they're trying to get out ahead of things and, quite frankly, enforce these rules, laws, regulations a little bit more firmly and strictly. Because, well, imagine if people in Altadena or Pasadena or the Pacific Palisades or Malibu, right, had taken the time to undergo these precautions. I think it might have been a different story. So nevertheless, okay, so we're finally coming up to the area where I think I need to turn right. Okay, so this is Washington Boulevard. We're gonna make a right on Washington Boulevard from West Drive. We're now north of the Rose Bowl. We're sort of in the middle of the golf course here. The Rose Bowl was back down that way. Let me pull over here so this guy behind me can pass me. All right, so we'll let him go. And we're gonna just kind of keep driving through Pasadena according to this map here. So let's see here. Next, we're gonna make a left onto North Arroyo Boulevard. So if you're north of the Rose Bowl and you live in this neighborhood here, and you're close to Arroyo Boulevard, Arroyo Boulevard is another good landmark for you. It's another good street identifier to show exactly where. Oh, I may have to turn left here. Oh, this is Rosemont. Okay, so yeah, I said it prior. Rosemont, anything west of Rosemont, right? So now again, I'm in a recreational area, but look up on the hill there. I don't know if you can see it, but there's houses on that hill. So if you're on that hill and you're north of the Rose Bowl here in Pasadena, you are in a very high fire hazard severity zone. Maybe you can see some of the houses on top of the hill as well here. So we're at street level. Of course, we're not going to be able to see them, but as we progress north here, You can see in the hills. Oh, it looks like we're about to enter. We're ascending now. We're ascending a hill. So here are some homes. Okay, so we're getting there. I mean, so this is a perfect example of a wildland urban interface. This kind of residential set in the mountains, right? Now, does this house have wood siding? It sure does. It sure does. So that's, and look, wood fence and gates. Perfect example. All right. So now there's a gated community here. We're not going to go in there. Okay, look, wood fence. Wood fence. Now, is that in zone 0? No, it's not. Technically, it's not. But, you know, do you really want to take a chance if that's your home? Okay, so now we are close to the 210 freeway. And we are entering, looks like, the Pasadena area. Now, this was another part of Los Angeles that was pretty much completely wiped off the map. I've done other videos in Pasadena, but you know, I'll link to those here, guys. I guess, you know, for Pasadena, that's going to be it. The Rose Bowl is definitely in a very high fire hazard severity zone. If you live west of the Rose Bowl or north of the Rose Bowl there in Pasadena, you are definitely in a very high fire hazard severity zone. You're very much at risk. Let's take a look at our map here and just kind of point out where we ended up. So we took the drive there, all of that in red, right? Of course, here's the golf course and the Rose Bowl down there where we started. So we drove up north, we crossed the 210 here, right? So here we are at the edge, the beginning of Pasadena. Now if I zoom out, you can see that, and this actually very accurately reflects the damage. So if I drove into Pasadena, right, like this first part down here, almost none of there, you can see the fire hazard zone, at least to the east, nothing is demarcated, right? But as we go a little bit more north here, and we get into closer to the foothills in Pasadena, all that area was all completely wiped out. So go back and look at my other videos there. But we're going to continue. We're going to go to La Cañada Flint Ridge next, because look, I mean, it's just absolutely in the center of it all. So that's it, Pasadena. Thank you, guys. My name's Chris. If you need to get in touch with any contractors, feel free to go to zone0california.com, give us a call, or fill out the form, and we'll be in touch. All right, thank you very much.